Hi chat. Hello. I'm in both places now. I'm still collecting. 152. Okay, we gotta wait a little more for people to come. It's not enough. So you guys come join us over there on Twitch. And the way it works is we pick something from the news. We call it Double Down on the News. You pick a story, and then we vote on 5 different stories in the news, what we want to talk about. And everybody gets to vote together, and we choose something, and we all go through it together. Hydrating already. I got it. We call this the kids table. We call that the adult table. Come on over to the grown-up table. It's going to be a good time. You're going to like it. Trust me. You're going to like it. You should go talk to people on TikTok live. It's more, no. Twitch is way better. I think the Twitch thing, way better. Way more conducive to learning. So, it's the same username here, but without the underscore. Madeline Pendleton. Very, very easy. Let's see. 203. Okay, we got 203. Okay, we're doing it. So there's, some of you guys, there's like 300 of you still here. I don't know why you're here. Can you talk to people on Twitch? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's a chat. It's awesome. Everybody talks to each other. We're super involved with the chat over on Twitch. We're talking to the chat all the time. We love the chat. It's the best chat. I'm like Donald Trump. It's the best chat ever. We've got the best chat in history. You've never seen a chat so great as our chat over on Twitch. Smartest chat. Numbers so high on this chat. The hottest chat. We've got everything. We've got nukes. We've got fork emotes. We've got the tank that rolls now. We're doing everything. We've got Karl Marx, but we can't call him Karl Marx, so he looks like Santa Claus. We have a big, beautiful chat. Number 1 chat in the world on the planet. You've never seen a chat as good as our chat. Okay. All right. 250. Yeah, you guys are really hanging on here. Okay. We have tanks. We have Juche. We've got Santa Marx. We've got it all. All right. We're making chat hot again. Many such cases over on chat. All right. I'm hanging up with you guys here. So go over there now. Twitch, Madeline Pendleton. We're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about Iran, I bet. You guys want to hear about Iran, I'm guessing. I feel like we're going to talk about Iran. Okay, thanks, love you, bye. Hey, guys. I was on there for a long time. I woke up so early. I was on there forever. It was crazy. People are so dumb there. It's wild. Welcome, everybody, to the adults table. How was everybody's weekend? Wild weekend, right? A lot happened. Smash Ultra. Protests supporting regime change in Iran almost shut down a whole highway. The guy they interviewed said he fled Iran in 2004. He's thanking Trump and Netanyahu. Crazy stuff happening in LibMaxed Seattle. Let's take a look at this video. Get us started. Ease into it. In support of the... Okay, this is not what's going on, suffice it to say, in LA. We've got supports against it. Against the invasion. Let's watch this video, though. 2 minutes.
Car after car, people openly supported strikes in Iran Saturday, waving Iranian, Israeli, and American flags around Seattle.
We had that plan. It's almost 2.5 months.
It's a show of force Arash Sefianju, an Iranian refugee and part of the nonprofit Voice of Iran, says has been months in the making.
Our people are protesting in the street against the Iranian regime. And the reason for that is this border regime killing people right and left. Thankfully, Mr. Trump and President Netanyahu, they come and they start helping Iranian people. And we are really, really appreciated for that.
But concerns of a greater conflict are growing. Senator Patty Murray is calling on Congress to return and vote to end what she calls a war with Iran. Writing in a statement Saturday, President Trump promised to end wars, not start them.
I see a lot of people over here.
Okay. Welcome to the first time people. There's a couple of you who said that it's your first time here. Hi, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us today. That's kooky. That's kooky. That is kooky. So there was actually somebody on TikTok who had a really good video today where they were talking about the diaspora. And I noticed, I did a little research, and I realized that most Twitch streamers, they are showing videos more. So I thought maybe for our intros we could do a little bit more video, keep it a little more interesting before we get into just reading things. Welcome to Joseph Star. I thought that could be good. So your fave MacLeod mentioned your problematic fave Spain. Unproblematic fave and problematic fave, yes. Oh, I know why this is happening. So I'm going to see if I can find this video that I reposted.
There's a reason.
Okay, yeah, we're going to watch this. Hold on. About the diaspora. And this is a good orientation. If you are a white American, yay, thanks for coming. Thank you. The bullying worked. So this is a good orientation about the diaspora. If you're like, why are these fucking Iranians in the United States acting like that? I think this is a good video. So let's watch her.
Why Cubans in Miami are a stereotype. There's a reason why boba tea diaspora is a phrase, okay? And it's because a lot of us children of the diaspora, whether we're Nigerian British or Korean American or whatever other hyphens, are in opposition of like the sovereignty, self-determination, and liberation of our own homelands. That's just what it is, okay? I always find it funny when people recognize that like their immigrant friend from South America lives in a mansion, has educated family, traveled more than the average US citizen, you know? It's like, yeah, you don't actually think that radicals are gonna be here, allowed to study here, or be anywhere near the global West, do you? And that should say everything, practically, about the ways that some of us end up aligning ourselves with empire. And that's why I say be skeptical and take it with a grain of salt. Think about that image of Venezuelans in the US versus Venezuelans in Venezuela. You get what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times our backgrounds are grounded in classism, are grounded in exclusion and some level of like privilege, you know, all of that stuff. So take it with a grain of salt. And sometimes, you know, you get an Edward Said. You get a Frantz Fanon who wrote extensively about it. Okay, I think Fanon would summarize our positionality as some state of psychosis, for real, you know. Chinua Achebe, things fall apart. I mean, I could keep going. There's a reason why Cuba.
Yes. So, I don't know. I thought that was a little good reminder for everybody, right? Oh my god, I messed up my display. It's huge. What's happening? Why is this happening to me? I'm a victim. Okay, there we are, back. Sorry, I was saying technical difficulties. No big deal. So, yeah, the diaspora is obviously acting super, super kooky about Iran right now. And because the American public is not capable of holding more than one idea in their head at a time, right? Or this like very, very binary thing. They're like, well, the Iranian government isn't perfect. So clearly what we're doing is a good thing there. Which is absolutely unhinged, right? It's not a normal way to think about it. Yeah, it's very, very, very fucking bizarre. So we're seeing a lot of this though act out here. And one of the things that I was trying to tell people about the situation is like, first of all, you're dehumanizing people when you attempt to flatten their political experiences. Like, every country that exists in the world, when you look at the people there, Iran's a country of 90 million people, right? Everybody has different levels of class consciousness, different levels of radicalization, different priorities, different interests, different needs. There's generational things going on in Iran. People who are older in Iran obviously understand and remember the history of when the United States was basically ruling Iran and how horrible that was. Younger people don't. Younger people are more likely to fall victim to Western propaganda about rock and roll and blue jeans and the West coming to liberate you and give you basically pop culture. And that's what they want because that's what they see in the media that's exported. That's also part of our propaganda network massively around the world to make the United States look fucking cool and fun and capitalism look so great. Like, all of these things play into each other. And that is why if you were an American, if you were a Westerner, there is no utility in you trying to litigate the morality or ethics of another country's government. The only thing there is utility in is opposing your own country's intervention there. Like, that is it. That's the only political opinion you need to have. And actually, at the end of the day, it makes your life a lot easier. That situation's not going to be better by the United States showing up. That's it. That's the only thing. It doesn't matter what's going on there. It doesn't matter how much you support it. And lots of Iranians love their government. I do want to say. Lots of Iranians hate their government. Lots of Iranians love their government. It's almost like they're people with different perspectives about things, right? So it doesn't matter what we as Westerners, especially as Americans, think about the Iranian government. It doesn't have anything to do with us. Any change they want to see in their government has to come from within, from them. It's not going to come from us. And historically, when we have intervened there, we have oppressed them. We have destroyed Iran for profit, right? Historically, that's what's been going on. So that's what we've got happening over there. Now, we can get more into Iran today. I feel like that's what everybody's going to want to talk about in the news, but I feel like we should do a poll anyway, just to be sure. Does anybody have any other news stories they'd be interested in hearing about that aren't Iran? That they want to share links in the chat that we can get in consideration for a poll today? Okay, let's take a look at this. Black Alliance for Peace. Oh, yes. We've got this story about the Kenyan revolutionary leader who's been kidnapped and tortured. The shooting in Austin. Yeah, we've got, so this is going to be an immigration related thing because he became a citizen in 2013. We did the Argentina 12-hour workday, I think. Ukraine, Argentina. We talked about Argentina. Maybe Lebanon? Hezbollah. Instagram post of anarchists celebrating Ayatollah's death and then condemning the USA and Israel. I saw one. Yeah. Like, everybody was like, confirmed anarchists are now on the side of Israel. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. This is crazy. Okay. Anything else? Oh, here we go. What's this? Argentina again. Oh, yeah. We did talk about this recently. So they adopted it. Okay, so that's the update on that. GOP pushed parental rights bill. So, okay. Every Democrat. We could talk about the failures of the Democratic Party. Okay, so I think we got 5. Oh, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Okay, here's what I think our 5 are. Virgo, if you are ready for the poll. I think we've got Kenya. We've got Austin shooting. We have Democrats losing it. We have Afghanistan, Pakistan, and we have Iran. And if you're new here, what happens is we put together a poll and then you all vote in the form of poll. It'll be at the top of your chat in just a few minutes, a few seconds. And we'll vote on what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. And Lebanon, the conversation will be a part of Iran. Poll is up. Okay, everybody. Get going in the poll. Get your votes in. In your nearest largest U.S. city, there were big anti-war protests with Iran, but also a pro-war demonstration a few blocks away with Iran flags, Israel flags, and USA flags. Bonker shit. As you walked by, they started chanting USA, USA. Horrible. Yeah, we had, obviously, like a hands-off Iran kind of protest. The poll will be at the top of the chat. And it says, what should we yap about? And if your topic doesn't get chosen today, remember, we got Tuesday, we got Wednesday. We don't have Thursday because that's theory day, but we have Friday. On mobile, swipe the banner. On mobile, swipe the banner. Democrats losing it. Just like, you got like this bill, every Democrat voted for it. They're just being losers. They're losing it like big losers. You think the poll is decided? Oh yeah, it looks like the poll is decided unless a real dark horse comes out of the running anytime soon. But I think we all can acknowledge the Democrats remain losers. Losers. Ugh. Star Wars Hour, they're even losing in this poll too. Oh, 368. Yay. We're growing. Maybe it is because my outfit and my hair matches the curtain wall so much today. I think Democrats are in a mass psychosis of that. I do not think they are living on the same planet as the rest of us. It's absolutely fucking wild. Okay. Obviously, today we're going to talk about Iran. Let me pull up some Iran updates for us to get into in a minute. But we will also be doing a little brief overview of the situation in Iran before we move into it. I just think a little background info would be nice. Yeah. All right. So, what's going on in Iran? Now, it's worth noting I do have podcast episodes about this, probably like around 4 hours of background info. So I'm just going to do a recap that makes sense for us today. But the situation going on in Iran goes way back to the 1920s, especially, but maybe even before that. So Iran has access to oil, obviously, and they've had a political system that's based around basically a king, a monarchy. That's the Shah system. And the Shahs that we really think about there is the Pahlavi dynasty. That's what we call them. That's the family that's been basically the kings of Iran going back. Now, in the 1920s, the Shah there was attempting to engender positive kind of vibes, good feeling vibes from the West, from Europe and from the United States, and started making a lot of changes to Iran to make Iran look very favorable for Western business development. Remember the 1920s, this is when like cars are really taking off in a major way. They've got oil going on there. They want in on this new Western business. So one of the things that they do, which always shocks people don't know this, is the Shah starts passing laws controlling how you're allowed to dress in public. So I believe it started in 1926 or 27, definitely was in effect by 1928 if I'm wrong about 1926 and 27. But all the way up to 1936, a series of laws started to get implemented controlling how people in Iran were allowed to dress. And these laws basically said that you were not allowed to dress in like traditional Iranian clothing, more or less. You had to dress in Western clothing. And part of the reason was that basically the Shah was trying to sell Iran to the Western powers, to Europe, to England, to the United States, like to all these people grouped together. So I talked about this a little bit on my TikTok live this morning. I've talked about this before, but when you see those pictures, the people are like, Iran used to be so secular. Look at all the women in miniskirts. That actually is not like a warm, feel good kind of story, right? That's actually really fucked up, because by the 1920s, late 1920s, Iran had been passing these laws mostly targeting men. There were certain ways that men were supposed to dress in public spaces that were in more Western suits with Western style hats and this Western look in like a business arena. But by 1936, these laws had translated to women in Iran as well. And when you think about women being forced to dress in Western clothing, what it amounts to is forceful unveiling. So women had been wearing hijab, had been wearing veils, right, for religious reasons there, for cultural reasons, but also for religious reasons. So when they were now forced to dress Western, all of a sudden wearing a veil became illegal. And that meant that just like we saw in France in the early 2000s, women were in the street being forcefully undressed against their will by police officers in Iran. And the situation got so bad, women were trying to stage their own resistance there to be able to keep their religion and keep their culture. They would wear headscarves, but then they tried to start a trend of wearing these elaborate, huge hats to cover the fact that they were still covering their hair, but still kind of pass with the new clothing standards. And it got very, very, very difficult. It got to the point where many women just refused to leave the house whatsoever. And if you're not familiar with why women cover themselves, the closest thing I can think of as an example, if you were a Westerner, is imagine your country now just made it illegal for you to go outside of the house in anything other than like topless and in a thong. Right? That's the level of violating it feels for some people who choose to veil and cover themselves in that way. It is very, very like you're going out naked, like you're very exposed, and a lot of people felt that level of violated by these laws. Oh, thank you for the gifted subs. Yay, thank you, thank you. We really do have a great sub-gifting community. I appreciate that. So this was a real problem. So in 1936 is when this started affecting women. It went on for many, many years. And by the time the 1960s came around, there was a new Shah, and we're going to talk about this. And he actually did say, okay, you can wear whatever you want now. That's fine. If you want to wear traditional clothes, you can. But by that time, the damage had kind of already been done. All the clothing stores stopped selling traditional clothes. They were selling Western clothes. The fashion trends had become Western fashion trends. So, you know, worth noting, they did change that law later, but it all still stemmed, even those pictures in the 1970s and stuff, it all did still stem from this forceful Western thing, this forced unveiling that was very, very violating to many of the women of Iran. Not all of them, but many of them. Now, as the first Shah was implementing these rules, these laws in the 1930s, you know, in the 1940s, etc., by 1953, something happened in Iranian history that is significant. They elected a prime minister named Mossadegh. Now, the way their political system had worked, they had the king, the Shah system, but then they also had a parliament and a prime minister that they were trying to build up. It was like a newly developing thing. And the democratically elected prime minister they had was a man named Mossadegh, and he was a socialist. So one of the things he wanted to do was actually take back control of the oil away from the Shah, who was basically selling everything out to the United States and to Europe for his own personal profit, but it didn't benefit the people of Iran. So Mossadegh was like, we're not doing that. We are going to nationalize the oil. And anybody familiar with American politics knows what fucking happened next, right? Get that guy out of here. This is like, if you're playing a board game or a video game or something, there needs to be like a card you draw that's we're nationalizing oil, and then everyone just comes, throws a bag over your head, and then like drags you out of the game. And this is exactly what happened. So Mossadegh is like, we're nationalizing oil, and the U.S. government's like, get the bag on his head, get him fucking out of here, he's out. So the CIA and MI6, which is like the British CIA, together work and stage a coup, and they overthrow Mossadegh, who was, to this day, I believe, the last democratically elected leader of Iran. I could be wrong about that. I know Iran to this day still actually does have a parliament system. So fact check me on that. I hear people say that, but I'm just realizing I've never fact checked that myself. And that's how insidious information is, right? I hear Mossadegh was the last democratically elected leader of Iran. And I'm like, you know what? I actually haven't checked on that because I'm not as familiar with the current parliamentary system. So that could be true. That could be not that one. But yeah, basically that is what happened. We came, we ousted him, and instead we gave a ton of power to the Shah. We're like, it's all you, baby. It's all king. It's all Shah. Fuck this prime minister shit. They're going to get voted in and out of office all the time. No. So we basically set up the next Shah in the Pahlavi dynasty to be our puppet dictator of Iran. And he was. And that is how he operated for a very, very long time. So he ran Iran, but basically as a puppet client state of the United States. And the Iranian people did not like this. So in 1979, an outbreak of protests kind of propped up, and they ended up actually staging a full-on revolution and expelling the Americans and taking back their country from us. The Shah had to flee. So this is where we get the famous story of the Iranian hostage crisis, and that is when Iranian protesters stormed the U.S. embassy and took a bunch of embassy workers as hostages for negotiating with the U.S. And their goal was, yes, to get Americans out of their country, to expel Americans. Now, when they kind of won, right, the election, there is always this, not the election, sorry, when they won the revolution, basically, there's always this power vacuum that emerges. So who's going to take over next, right? And this is the thing about Marxist-Leninism. We think that these kinds of political hot points are inevitable, revolutions are inevitable. So our goal is that when the power vacuum emerges, now who's going to be in charge? We want to step in and we want to be like, hey, we have a plan that we think everybody's going to like. We've been studying this. We figured out what works and doesn't. Let's do it. Let's do our thing so that bad people basically don't come to power. And in this situation, they were trying to figure out who's going to be in charge. And there was a group of communists who were like, we could do communism. We could be in charge. We could do this. And there was also a group of people who weren't as politically there, as class conscious, but knew they hated Americans. And what ultimately ended up winning out was they decided to bring in the Ayatollah, who had been a religious figure who had been expelled from Iran. And they were like, we're going to bring him back to Iran. And he's really, really popular because the reason he was expelled is that the Shah hated him because he was very anti-Shah. He was anti the Shah and he was very anti the United States. So the same reason that he had been expelled is the same reason they wanted to bring him back. And they thought he would be able to unify the country together. Now, I have seen some people say that the USA actually backed the Ayatollah being the person in charge so that Iran wouldn't go full communist. I'm not sure of that. I haven't seen that information. However, I can tell you that that's not irrational. That's not plausible, right? That is something we do at places all the time. So maybe you'll be able to find that. Maybe someday I'll be able to dig up the info on that to see. That does sound rational and plausible, but I have never seen evidence of that myself personally. So whatever the case, the Ayatollah came to power. And one of the first things that the Ayatollah did was implement a theocracy and start basically reversing a lot of the pro-Western laws and legislation that were happening, both with oil there, certainly, but also domestically. So with that then came now the forced veiling. Now you are forced to wear basically traditional garb, traditional clothing. So now when today a lot of liberals will talk about Iran and be like, look at how free they were before the Ayatollah. This is really a failed communication about what's going on. This is not a cause and effect kind of thing. Somebody is not communicating to them what's actually happened. The forced veiling was a direct reaction to the forced unveiling that had happened decades before. And you have to understand the Ayatollah, the theocracy, all of this as a reaction against Americans brutalizing this country and stealing this country from its people. So that's kind of the situation that developed from there. Now, the Ayatollah we have today is not the same Ayatollah that was back then. We have a new Ayatollah. But we still have the United States and now Israel and Europe wanting to basically get rid of the Ayatollah and bring in the Shah once again. And the Shah that they want to bring in is not the same Shah from the 1960s, 70s, whatever. It's a new one, but it still is a Shah from the Pahlavi dynasty. It's still part of that hereditary Shah system. He had been exiled under the Ayatollah. And we want to bring him in and put him in charge. So basically we can have the same arrangement we had from 1953 to 1979 when we had a US-backed dictator there. Leading things. That's what we want. We want to return to 1953 to 1979. And there's some internally, people in Iran are like people anywhere. There's 90 million of them. They have a variety of different political opinions. Some of them love their government. Some of them love their government. Older people especially are more likely to see their government as protecting them from Western domination in their country. People who remember what it was like in the late 1970s under the previous Shah, who was basically a US-backed dictator, are more likely to like the Ayatollah because they know what it was like and how bad it was under the US dictatorship. People who are younger, who didn't grow up in that, who were born after that, they're less likely to. They're more likely to want the promises of capitalism they see in the media. They're more likely to want what we call rock and roll and blue jeans as the rhetorical thing to make you think that capitalism is the peak of culture. Pop culture is used as this marketing pitch, this sales tool all around the world to express Western hegemony, yes, but to also sell you on capitalism, to say, look at what capitalism brings to your life. And we've seen these techniques be immensely successful. That's the whole reason Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty were able to be so successful in trying to overthrow communism in Eastern Europe. Like, this promise of commodity, right, is really what has been the driving force for young people to be lured in by capitalism. And Iran isn't even socialist, exactly. But they see that and they're like, we could be like the West. We could have what they have. And we could have freer markets, certainly, because Iran obviously exercises more market control. Even though they are capitalists, they exercise more market control over things like oil. So it is worth noting a few more things I want to throw in here before we get into the news. I know this is a big backstory. Venezuela and Iran are related in more ways than one. So I believe Venezuela and Iran were both part of OPEC. I just want to double check. Yes, Iran and Venezuela are both part of OPEC. OPEC is basically the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. So these are countries who all produced oil, who came together to basically do joint negotiation and flex their power and might. And they historically had been successful at using their oil as a political leverage tool against the United States and Israel. There was a period when the United States had actually a oil shortage because the OPEC countries were so upset at us backing an Israeli military action, I believe in Palestine, maybe also in Yemen. I can't remember exactly. But they were so mad that they basically sanctioned or put an embargo or basically controlled the flow of their oil to us. And that caused us to be in an oil crisis. And that meant that they had negotiating power. So Venezuela and Iran are both OPEC countries. And that's major because that means that they have leverage against the United States, and we don't like that. So us coming for Venezuela first had the additional benefit of cutting off the oil supply to Cuba. Right now, Cuba we see is in a crisis of an oil situation because they were getting their oil from Venezuela. And second of all, now Iran, because of the conflict, has closed off the Strait of Hormuz, which we talked about, which is where the oil flows out of. They're like, okay, fine, you're not getting oil from Iran then. Well, because we basically overthrew the government of Venezuela, now we have access to Venezuelan oil, so it's not such a big deal. Yes, we're talking about Iran. So all of these issues are connected and related. And what's also important that I just want to throw in for everybody to remember to tie together all the stuff we've been talking about in all of our streams every day, right, is that this is imperialism. And this is not the kind of imperialism where Westerners are like, imperialism is when big country go to war, border dispute, big country do trade. No, imperialism is the exportation of finance capital. And remember, we talked about what finance capital is. Under normal economic conditions, under capitalism, you'll use money to create a commodity, and then you'll sell or trade that commodity, and it will become more money. Money, commodity, money. A finance capital is when your money just magically becomes more money through a series of increasingly bizarre, basically fictitious capital products that banks offer. No commodity necessary. So Lenin talks about how imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism because you get to a point where you're literally exporting finance capitalism. Thank you for dropping this. Yes. So Lenin talks about this. You're literally just exporting finance capital. And that is what we're up to with oil. We don't even need oil. We have an oil surplus, but we need our oil companies to be posting certain numbers, to be hitting certain markers because it drives our economy and it also drives a number of fictitious bank-related products in our economy, in our market system. So it is imperialism. This is why we are doing this. So that's what's going on. That's all the stuff we have to keep in mind with Iran. Now, getting into current events, we have people talking about how they want to liberate the women of Iran, very obviously. And that does not mean that there aren't women in Iran who feel oppressed by their government. There are. There are also women in Iran who feel that their government protects them from the oppression of the West. Both of these things are true because people are complicated and multifaceted, right? People have different perspectives. They're going to have different experiences in the world, and that's important to note. But what we see is the West is weaponizing this idea of women's liberation to justify harming everybody in Iran, including women. So it's pinkwashing. It's the same thing we see with like gay rights activism, women's rights activism, and it is a tale as old as time. This is what we always have done. And if you fought for Palestinian liberation years and years and years ago, you know the same thing. We heard the same thing all the time. You can't defend Palestine. They're horrible to women. They're horrible to gay people, blah, 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 blah. And we obviously saw that to be a fallacy of an argument because when you start dropping bombs in another country, you don't have dude-seeking missiles. You're bombing women too. You don't have straight-seeking missiles. You're bombing gay people too. So this is a totally delusional argument, but this is the argument being used to justify us going to war with Iran. A lot of it is about women's rights, liberating women. And we saw the protests that broke out had a lot of women from the diaspora who were like, yes, we hate the Ayatollah, we yearn to be free. And then you look where they're from Canada. They're from the United States. They're not even there. And that doesn't mean there aren't women there who hate the Ayatollah. I mean, there's even Marxists there. There's Marxist-Leninists there who are like, we could turn this into a worker revolution. We should be in charge of the country. But what it means is that women wanting more rights or different things from their government in Iran has nothing to do with the United States trying to take control of Iranian oil. Cercito, more gay people have been killed by Israeli bombs in the last year than Hamas killed since their creation. Yeah, exactly. This is not a reasonable argument of any kind. And even if it were, the United States would not be qualified, and Israel would not be qualified to bring anybody in the world women's rights. We do not have women's rights at home. We do not have women's rights at home. So that's the background here on this. I'm sorry it was a deep dive. I just wanted to make sure I got everything out. Does anybody have any questions before we get into what's currently happening? I just want to make sure we're okay. No, we did well? Okay. Okay. We hit all the points. Okay. Yes. Dude Seeking Missiles. Great band name. Yeah. Jimmy Cricket is confused. That's okay. You're allowed to be confused as long as it's not, we don't get secondhand embarrassment from it. Okay. What are the number of protesters killed? Is 30K an accurate number? No, it's like 3K. 3K is what's pretty much agreed upon as an accurate number. That matches up with what Iran released as their official figures, and also with what orgs that are not affiliated with the U.S. or Israeli government released as their official figures. Now, Israel is like, 50,000 people were killed. The United States is like, don't be ridiculous, Israel, you're propagandized. It's more like 30,000. And to me, one of the things that we talked about on the stream that I think is really interesting is the number of people that your country is telling you Iran killed in protest is like means testing your propaganda level. And because it's a number, we can quantify how propagandized people are. Israelis will handle more propaganda than the United States will, but the United States will still handle a lot of propaganda. So for Israelis, they're getting the 50K number. For Americans, we're getting the 30K number, right? Because we're only 60% as propagandized as Israelis are, which I think is super interesting. You cannot achieve women's rights due to external intervention. We're not going to do any of that. And also, women's rights, what you think about as women's rights, that's personal, right? When we look at the numbers in Iran, we know that, let me see if I can actually find this data really fast. Okay, so this is an article from 2015. 70% of Iran's science and engineering students are women. So Iran has some of the highest rates of college graduates amongst women, STEM employees and students amongst women. So when you think about what does it mean to be liberated as a woman, right? What does that mean? Really think about that. What does that look like? To some women, it might be not having to cover their hair in public. And there was actually a movement in maybe the 2020, 2021. I've talked about this before, of teenage girls and young women going on TikTok and protesting basically on TikTok that they wanted to be able to walk around without their hair covered. And now, to me, when I saw it, I was like, whoa, this feels like some CIA stuff based on what I know about the CIA. But that doesn't also mean those young women didn't actually want that too. They're receiving a lot of Western propaganda. They're receiving just a lot of Western media. And they're like, well, every other teenage girl around the world gets to go around with her hair uncovered. I want that. And they're fine to want that. And what ended up happening is there were some clashes, there was some fighting. Kubashi, there weren't reforms passed, but they stopped enforcing them, the laws. They stopped really being enforced so much after this escalated into a battle between women and the government in Iran, not the diaspora. And what ultimately came out of it is a few very public, unfortunate deaths that were very, very bad. And now women in Iran are like, yeah, you can walk around without your hair covered. They don't really enforce it after that anymore. It was just kind of like, okay, fine. So this is what we mean. We're like, any reforms like that want to be won have to be won by women in that country. Oh, thank you for the gifted subs. So to some women in Iran, that was a sign of liberation, to be able to walk around without their scarves on. And guess what? They were able to make that happen for themselves. To some women in Iran, liberation is going to be a hardcore Marxist-Leninist worker revolution. And that's awesome. And I fucking want that for them. But if they do that, it's not going to be with American bombs or Israeli bombs. And what we would do by showing up there is basically give them two more governments to fight, right? If they want to fight their own government, great. If they're ready for that, I'm happy for them. I'm ready for them to do that. I'm not going to add in the Israeli government and the American government for them to fight as well. Because anybody who wants a hardcore Marxist-Leninist worker revolution there does not support the United States and Israel showing up, right? So none of this no matter what way you look at this situation, the United States government being in Iran does not help Iranians at all. Maybe a handful of Iranians who are super fucking rich, or young Iranians who don't really know. They don't know what Iran is like under U.S. leadership. They don't. They have a fantasy or an idea of it that they think is going to be better. It's a grass is always greener situation, you know, and that's what's kind of happening. So it's never... And, you know, I'm of the belief that women's liberation cannot occur under capitalism. It can only occur with socialism. So, right, but we're all different. We all have these different ideas. Cercito, liberals are for real thinking this wouldn't have happened if Kamala was president, as the bombs she would have literally dropped on Iran would have had hugs and kisses XX written on them. Yes, and she also campaigned on this. Let me see if I can find this for us before we get into the current context. So Harris is now saying she's opposed to regime change in Iran, but that's new. That's something she was not singing the same tune when she was running. I'm gonna look at this. See what I can find here. Loving the search before a time period feature on Google, really saving me. And this is from an Iranian website. Democratic candidate Harris vows to be tough against Iran. I would never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend our forces and our interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists. Now, one of the things that Democrats want to do is they want to ride this line, right? They want to ride this line. Oh, we got readers. Oh, yay. What they want to say is, I want to give you all the propaganda against that place. I want to manufacture all the consent. I want to tell you they're evil, they're evil, they're evil, they're so horrible, they're the most evil people that ever lived, they're so evil, they're so evil. But then later I want to be like, oh, I would never attack them though. I would never overthrow them. I would never lock them up. And you're like, but you would. But you would. When your team had power, you did. And you wouldn't stop running your mouth about how they were so fucking evil and all this bad shit needed to happen to them. So what? And that's what Democrats want to do. They want to play both sides. It's the same thing with Kamala Harris on the border. Same thing with Kamala Harris saying shit like, I oppose ICE. ICE is doing bad, but I won't dismantle ICE. And I campaign on being tougher on the border than Donald Trump. And I spewed the same bullshit about immigrants being a problem. Yeah, Butcher of Pyongyang. Exactly. They're all the fucking Butcher of Pyongyang. All of them. They're the Butchers of Pyongyang. Okay, so we have a video from Marissa Noel. Welcome, Raiders. We're talking about Iran. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, give them body cams. That'll fix that. Should we watch this video? Let's take a look really fast. We'll see.
Good news.
Hold on. I'm going to share it. We'll watch it, and then we'll get into the news and we'll discuss what's happening in the news.
Good news. We can get rid of the serial killer that's been terrorizing you in your home.
Oh my god, finally, thank you.
We're actually releasing 2 more serial killers in your home to get the other serial killer. But they might also kill you.
Sorry, what?
Oh, better news. They actually killed the other serial killer, but they said they're not leaving your house. Yay, freedom! Oh my god, congratulations. Good news.
Okay, yeah, that's funny. But again, the framing of the Ayatollah as a definite evil in the world, I don't feel that is a framing I'm comfortably able to take on. I don't feel comfortable saying the Ayatollah is evil or bad because I know for many Iranian people, the Ayatollah in their head protects them from Western aggression. The Ayatollah system, their theocracy. So that's the only thing, is that I'm not... and I feel like a lot of people want to get political clout or some sort of political passing by condemning and throwing everybody under the bus. We all know they're evil. And it's like, well, Iranians don't all know that they're evil. Many Iranians don't like their government. Many do, right? So, you know, their government does protect them, has protected them up to this point from the United States, who is trying to overthrow them. So again, this comes down to, what does freedom look like? What are your personal priorities? And as an American, I'm just not going to be the one who's like, we all know that Ayatollah's evil. I don't think that there's political utility in me making that claim, right? So that's kind of, you know, and lots of people there love the Ayatollah. They love him. And the Ayatollah historically has rallied the people together in opposition to American domination. And this is the ultimate point. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. It's not really our business. We don't have to have an opinion about him. Oh my God, Julia! Ah, hi! We have a Twitter celebrity in the chat. For those of you who aren't familiar, we have Jushay Julia in the chat. Welcome. Thanks for having to hang out. We're talking about Iran today. Yay! Julia, yeah, Julia's the Twitter icon. We love Julia. You're a celebrity here, Julia. The great people of Iran overwhelmingly support Khomeini and the Iranian Revolution. I mean, and this is the thing. It's like, that doesn't mean you don't have people in Iran who are like, I have these problems, I want a different government. That doesn't mean you don't have Marxist-Leninists in Iran who are like, hey, now could be our moment. But yeah, a lot of people love their government in Iran, and they view their government as protecting them from us. And that, I think, is what a lot of Americans don't want to do, and what a lot of liberals want to throw Khomeini under the bus in both sides of the situation without really understanding the nuance of the situation or what's going on. We're talking about Iran. Right? Yeah. And so, yeah, I got you, Shay. Support the Iranian Revolution. Yeah. So that's kind of where we are. So with that in mind, let's get into the actual news. Let's get into it. So I've got CNN and I've got the New York Times with live update like feeds they have going on. And I guess maybe we'll start with an overview to see what's going on. We'll see how it's being reported. Maybe we'll just start with this one. We'll just start with this one, I guess. All right. Yes, good. I'm always out here fighting for Korea. Khomeini was also known for being more open to Western culture, not influence. It's not another hermit kingdom situation. I mean, yeah, but we got Julie here. We talk about North Korea all the time, the hermit kingdom thing. It's like, that's a gross misunderstanding of North Korea as well that we do to those people, right? You got to do this shit. We don't. I think we do, though. We have to defend socialism, first of all, anywhere we see it. You have to defend socialism when you see it. And you also have to do the right thing. As Americans, like if you're an American and you are not talking about the horrors and the atrocities that the United States government commits all over the world, including Korea, including Iran, like if you're not talking about these things, what are you doing, right? Nero Riot. Women in Iran have more freedom, safety, and power than in many places in the West. Femicide is in the United States is minimum 5 times as high as Iran, right? And so we talked about this a little bit. And we were like, well, what does it mean to be free to you? And we saw 70% of people working in STEM in Iran are women, right? We talked about how the majority of college graduates in Iran are women. So what does freedom mean? And for some women in Iran, it might mean getting to walk around without a headscarf. That's fine. You know, if I lived in Iran, I'd probably be like, I want to dye my hair stupid colors and not have a headscarf on. But the idea that this Western idea of freedom, which is basically no safety net, no structure, no power, but like free, that this is how other people in other countries interpret freedom, that's a lie. That's a myth. That is not what freedom means to all of these people, right? So your definition of freedom as a Westerner might look very, very different than the definition of freedom that Iranian women have. And again, not to say there aren't some women, you're going to see some women in Iran who are like, yeah, fuck the Ayatollah, fuck this, fuck that, I want these changes. You're going to see Marxist-Leninist women in Iran who are like, yeah, fuck all this, I want a worker revolution. But none of that means that suddenly it's cool for us to go fucking drop bombs on them and get Israel all up in their business. None of that fucking matters. It doesn't matter. And also, again, for the perspective, I do think it's important that a lot of people will fall into this, well, of course Iran is bad, but Israel and the United States are bad too. And I really want to resist my audience from falling into that rhetoric because it is a little lazy and it is really convenient. To say Iran is bad, you know, that is a very, very big statement to make about a place that first of all, has dealt with a lot of bullshit from the United States. A lot of bullshit from the United States. And whose own citizens have complex and varying ideas about it, right? So... yeah, capitalism gives you freedom to be homeless. Exactly. So the Western idea of freedom under capitalism is not the same as the idea of freedom that people have other places. In a lot of other countries around the world, freedom means the freedom to not be bombed by the United States. And I think that's really something we have to understand, especially if you are an American. The United States is a terrorist state. It is. It has been. It always has been. And for the Iranian people, we have been certainly since 1953, right? It's very, very important to remember. All right. You've spoken to communist Iranian women just prior and then again post-World War. And when we started talking about some feminist issues within Iran, we mainly talked about our favorite Black feminist authors and activists. Yeah. So, you know, I've talked to communists in Iran as well who were like, no, we don't fucking like the Ayatollah, but like, what the fuck is we hate the United States and Israel more. Like, right? So... you know? And I've also talked to communists in Iran who have varying ideas about the utility of the current government in fighting imperialism and how available and ready they think their country truly is for a socialist or workers' revolution. People have different ideas. Okay. So let's get in. Oh, you saw the Americans being like, so Iranian women can have an OnlyFans now? Yeah. Yeah. And if you guys haven't been on Twitter, Julie and I are Twitter trolls. All of the men on Twitter are like, cool, so we get to aggressively sexualize Iranian women now, right? And you're like, what? Like, what? And it's all of these, like, weird AI fan edits. I feel like I gotta show you one of the most deranged one I saw. This is, like, how American men are foaming at the mouth to be able to aggressively sexualize Iranian women. And they talk about wanting to do it in the same context that they do this to Latino women, that we've seen them do this to Asian women. And this is another thing. The militarized conquest of these places, in terms of also not being able to offer women's liberation, also brings with it Western degradation of women, or a specific brand of Western degradation of women, which I think is very, very important to discuss as well. And of course, we all know what happens. School children, little school girls in Iran get bombed. I thought I retweeted this, but apparently it was too disturbing for me to even retweet. Oh no, but I liked it. Okay. Hold on. This is what they're doing with AI. Prompt, show my support for the beautiful Persian baddies that are about to get liberated. Give me at least 3 of their numbers. It all comes down to hypersexualizing Iranian women. So this is what the average American has in mind when they talk about liberating Iran. They're like, yeah, liberate the women of Iran so I can hypersexualize them. Like, this is crazy. And this is what's been going on all over Twitter. There's a fucking Latina tweet here. Let me find this one. I gotta find it. I can't find it. I'm searching. Ugh, I can't find it. Okay, well, just know they're being really fucking creepy. And they're like, wait a minute, are Iranian women the Latin American girls of the Middle East? Like, just like weird fucking creeps. Yeah, very, very wild. Yeah, how about we start with liberating the women from the United States? Like, why don't we fucking start at home? How about that? If you want to liberate women, start here. I know, people being creepy. What? Who could have gotten on the internet? With AI? Using generative AI to be fucking weird about women. Oh, who could have guessed? It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, why do Americans sexualize the women in the countries they bomb? But I think that's what it is. I think it is part of this American capitalist, like, chauvinistic narrative of domination. We dominate you, we emasculate you, and part of emasculation is conquering of women, right? And that's what it is. We don't view women as people. So when we talk about conquering these other countries, we imagine defeating their men and stealing their women. And that's literally what it comes down to. It's like caveman brain. It is caveman brain and a half. And it's fucked up because we know the real world consequences of this. I know Julia's in the chat. Julia knows all about this. The horrible things we did in Korea, American military men took over the comfort woman system that Japanese imperial basically leadership, control, domination had left behind. This is what we do, right? And very often we do force these women into sexual slavery and do all sorts of fucking horrible things to them. It's Orientalism, yes, against the women, certainly in Iran, in Korea, and all these places. I mean, that's the ultimate fantasy. Kill that man, steal his woman, right? That is the big man's, tough, like capitalist fantasy. That the cowboy, wild, wild west, guns a-blazing, white supremacist capitalist fantasy. Very, very wild. Neuro riot, they don't want to free Iranian women. They want poor, exploited women so they can exploit them sexually. Exactly. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, that is it. Ding, ding, ding. So, this is true. China needs to liberate American women. Yeah. So that is what Iran is up against right now. That is what they are dealing with. And let's take a look about what's going on now with the current events. We've got the whole backstory. We've got what's going on. Now, Trump warns Iran about larger strikes as war spirals in the Middle East. So President Trump told CNN's Jake Tapper the big wave is yet to come in war with Iran. In separate remarks, Trump said Iran ignored his warnings over its nuclear program, and he did not rule out sending U.S. troops to Iran if necessary. Pete Hegseth, our defense secretary here, called on Iranians to take advantage of the opportunity for regime change. So what the Trump administration is doing that's different, we talked about this last week where we were like reading these editorials from older people who'd worked in politics who were like, they're not even giving us a sales pitch anymore. We used to get a little press tour, a little sales pitch. We used to get a whole story that was like, here's why we must go to war. This is what we saw with the war on terror. Now we don't even get that. We get a few half-assed tweets, a vague concept of freedom, and they're like, fuck it, we're showing up with bombs. But they've realized they don't need to. They don't need this, right? So, and now they're just also right in the open being like, yeah, we're calling for regime change. Fuck yeah, we want regime change. Change that regime, babe. Let's get it going. And this is the kind of stuff that Democrats, liberals will tell you are paranoid and crazy for, right? They're like, the CIA is not trying to do regime change everywhere, sweaty. And you're like, no, they are. And now Republicans are just like, yeah, we are. We are, right? We know this. So Israel and Hezbollah are trading blows as the conflict widens. Explosions have been heard in Gulf cities include Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Doha. Fighter jets are shot down. 3 were accidentally shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses in an apparently friendly fire incident. Global shockwaves. Qatar state-run energy company has stopped its production of liquefied natural gas following an Iranian attack on its facility. The war has disrupted air travel with airspace closed in the Middle East. Famously, people were talking about how their vacations to Dubai were canceled, which... The real issue is why in 2026 are you choosing to take a vacation to Dubai? That is wild. Yes, we are talking about Iran. You were right. Y'all have a good day. And obviously what happened is the United States launched a bombing campaign against Iran, and Iran struck back by starting to attack U.S. military bases that had surrounded them, basically. And the United States was like, we killed the Ayatollah, as though that was some big accomplishment. The man was fucking 90 years old, for God's sake. I think he was 86. And because it's not a dictatorship, a new leadership has just popped up in its place, because that's how it works when you have a government and not a dictatorship, right? And again, that doesn't, I know Marxist-Leninists who hate the Ayatollah, so that's the line I straddle. I understand. Marxist-Leninists in Iran, it's worth clarifying. But again, I know people in Iran who love the Ayatollah, so there it is. Now, 46 minutes ago, we have an update. 3 teenage siblings among those killed in Iranian missile strike near Jerusalem. Okay, so we're already seeing, this is CNN. This is the libbed out source, right? Look at them. They're already positioning, like, of all the people who've been killed, 3 teenage siblings killed near Jerusalem. I feel like this is heavy pro-Israel kind of bias here that we got going on, right? 3 teenage siblings were among those killed when an Iranian missile landed in a residential area in the city of Beit Shemesh near Jerusalem. Okay, so why are we talking about this? Like, residential areas weren't bombed in Iran? They certainly were. Like, innocent people weren't killed in Iran, right? This is just absolutely wild. It was 16, 15, and 13 years old. The funerals were held on Sunday. At least 9 people were killed when the missile struck a residential area, hitting a synagogue that collapsed on a shelter in the city. A volunteer for United Hatzalah, an Israeli emergency response service, and her mother were also killed in the strike. A single mother of 3, Rana Emlich, sent her children to the shelter when she ran out to bring her mother, according to Eli Beer. All right, so we're getting reported on this. Again, Israel's the innocent victims here. The Israeli people are the innocent victims. This is where the focus is going in the media. I know. Shocking to nobody, right? Yeah. Then 48 minutes ago, we have this story. Iran's energy attacks are a way to maximize leverage and retaliation. A fire at a massive oil refinery in Saudi Arabia and an attack on liquefied natural gas plants in Qatar are worrying developments for energy markets and could signal the start of further attacks on vital infrastructure. I think this is just smart warfare, TBH. I also think that people were talking about what's this going to do for the U.S. oil market, but again, we came for Venezuela first strategically. We've got access to Venezuelan oil now, so probably won't affect us as much as it otherwise would have. Iran denies culpability on the oil refineries. Okay, that's good to note. There's a morphing of the crisis, and we also know Israel has a tendency to blow things up and do things and then claim somebody else did them, like false flag type things. That's very Israeli coded as well. But even if they did, even if Iran did this doesn't seem weird to me. This would seem strategically rational. It doesn't really matter to me. And there's a morphing of the crisis. This could spiral and drive much bigger moves in energy prices. I mean, that's the only thing that the West will listen to that we really care about, because that's what this is all about anyway. Keir Starmer says that the UK does not believe in regime change from the skies. That would be new for them. That would be a new take for the UK. Like, what? Your whole history is regime change, babe. Where do you think we learned it from, Dad? We learned it from you. Like, I always talk about this, like, does the UK know they're like our dad? Like, we learned it from them. Like, this is where we picked up smoking cigarettes, drinking, cussing, all of our bad habits from Daddy England as Americans. Like, what? Okay, just interesting. Like father, like son, yeah. So this was after a joint U.S.-Israeli military operation killed Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah. I do think that they are, like, now with the Greenland thing, they're like, this could happen to us. Regime change is bad! You know? It's like, yeah, we're the Brit spawns. Like, come on. UK is the grandfather of the U.S. It's the shit son, and Israel's her rancid grandson. Yeah. Exactly this. Starmer said earlier that the UK had agreed to a request from the US to allow British military bases to be used for defensive strikes on Iranian missile sites. What the fuck's a defensive strike? We attacked them out of nowhere. We fucking bombed them. Like, in the middle of negotiations about nuclear contracts. What? This is wild. Spare the rod, spoil the subcontinent. Absolutely wild. So on Monday, Pete Hegseth said the goal of the strikes on Iran was not regime change. President Donald Trump is like, nah, it's regime change. Trump said, when we are finished to take over your government, it will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations, trying to get the Iranian people to do it. And again, he's going out in the open with the technique that has been our technique, though, covertly, everywhere, forever. Not our guys, right? We don't know how that revolution happened, that spontaneous regime change call. We don't know how that happened. We don't know where those guns came from. We don't know where those bombs came from. Those aren't our guys. We have nothing to do with it. It just so happens that the old government was bad for us and the new government's good for us. And also that we dumped millions of dollars into that region in totally unrelated things. I don't know how this happened. It's not our guys. That's our usual way of doing business. But Donald Trump is like, I know how it's happening. Do it. Let's go. Let's do it. And he's being very, very out in the open about these things, which I think is so interesting. Is the chat fast? I feel like it's not as bad as some other people. But, you know, there's over 4 people. 400? Yay. We're doing it. We're growing. We're getting there, guys. People want to learn. The people yearn to learn about Iran. That's why. Chat is popping today. Current events be currenting. Events are happening, right? Keep up, case and vase. We be yapping. We do have a yappy chat. We do run our mouths a lot. We run our mouths so much that the chat was silent for like 60 seconds on Friday. And I was like, oh my God, did I lose service? Did I lose connection? Trump wants Iranian people to serve as cannon fodder. Yep, first time chat, Whistler66. This is exactly what it is. We don't want to lose our guys, but we'll lose your guys. We're fine with that. Yeah. Definitely at least 4 people are here. So, let's see what's going on here. We got a little map here. Red is the U.S.-Israeli strikes in Iran. Blue is the Iran retaliatory strikes. So, Iran is coming for 4 to 5 weeks. Oh, let's take a look at those. Iran is hitting things in Syria, Jordan, Israel, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, and Oman. So that's what we got going on here. I have not been streaming for very long. This is like I think I started at the end of December, so I'm new to it. But I really, really like it. And I just do 2 hours a day before I start work. Because I have like jobby job. Oh, Scottish person here. The UK is more than just England. Heads up. Yes, Orchestran. And we want your liberation every day. We want that for you. We don't think you should be tied to them. We're trying with the story. We're trying. But yes, you're right. I get the configurations confused too. Like Great Britain is some, UK is some, and I do get them confused a little bit sometimes. So thank you for that. Yeah, we want that for you too. We're fighting for that too for you. Oh, yay. I'm so glad you read it. Yay. Thank you. I'm glad you liked the book. Okay. Trump says Iran ignored the White House's warnings to not rebuild its nuclear program. I'm sorry, girl, fuck you. If I'm a country with oil, I am building so many nuclear weapons. I'm going to be made of nuclear weapons. I will prop the nuclear weapons up as a fence around my country, standing tall with their little nuclear weapon heads up in the sky. Like, I am cutting off the heads of my enemies and putting them on the top of the nuclear weapons. Like, my whole country is going to be made of nuclear weapons if I have oil. It's absolutely deranged to be like, how dare you have nuclear weapons? And need we pull up the numbers again? How many nuclear weapons does the USA have? The most nuclear weapons in the planet. We have 5,000 nuclear weapons. Hold on, it's loading. Okay, sorry. Russia's got a couple hundred more than us. We have the second most nuclear weapons on the planet. Like, I would be going for the Russia approach. And I would be like, we got to up these numbers. How do I get more nuclear weapons? Iran, famously, not on this list. Why? They don't have a nuclear weapon. They're working to develop nuclear weapons, which they should. But this is, like, do you see the hypocrisy and how bizarre it is? Good job, North Korea. Keep it up. Fighting the good fight down here. China, North Korea, let's go. Keep it armed. This is why we're nukies. This is it. We've surpassed the need for tanky. We are now nuki. So, you know, and we're allied with Israel in this whole thing. They have nuclear weapons too. We don't care if Israel has nuclear weapons. We just don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. It's just fucking ridiculous. Is Russia anti-imperialist or no? Russia's not imperialist, I can tell you that. Anti-imperialist? It depends on what they're doing. Sometimes they are, right? When they showed up in Venezuela in 2019 and parked their fucking little jets outside of Caracas when Donald Trump tried to overthrow the Venezuelan government the first time, and they were like, are you sure? That was an anti-imperialist action. Yes. You know? So when the United States is trying to overthrow the government of Ukraine to export finance capital to Ukraine and steal it from Ukrainian people, and Russia is like, what the fuck is going on here? Russia didn't even intervene as much as they should have, probably, to be anti-imperialist. They kind of were hands off for a long time about it. So, you know? Let's hear some professionals' opinions via real journalism on Al Jazeera. Yeah, Russia does support anti-imperialist struggles in many African states as well as Cuba and Venezuela. Right. I arguably they could be doing even more, but I think to say that as an American is kind of ridiculous because them and Iran are really the only countries who do anything to stop us. Like, they're the only people who stand up to us. So, anything they do is girl, they're occupying 20% of Georgia right now. So I think Vivian needs a refresher on what imperialism is and isn't. So I think we do homework for Vivian. Is everybody okay with that in the chat? Get a little homework on what imperialism is. Everybody cool with that? We'll give them a chance to learn. Yeah. Yeah, this is what we do if you're new here. When we get trolls in the chat or like people being a little kooky in the chat, we give them homework. We put them on a timeout and we give them homework, and then they come back, and if they can summarize the homework, they can hang out and keep talking to us. But if they can't summarize the homework, then we just block them. So we have an outline here of imperialism as a special stage of capitalism. So, everybody confused about this. This is the recommended reading, or I have to make you a fucking tiny URL. And anybody who's weird about it, we're going to put you on a timeout until you read it. And then when your timeout comes up, you can come here and summarize the reading, and then we'll keep talking to you. But sometimes when we run into these situations, we run into like a knowledge gap is what's happening. And we don't have time to derail the whole stream to get you caught up to speed. So I'm going to pin this. And so you're going to have to catch yourself up to speed, and then we can talk about it, basically. And that's what we're doing. This is the system. So I'm not going to see if the people who need to be put on timeout, but there it is for anybody interesting. Yeah, I like this system too. Because it's like, we can talk to you about it, but you need to have a certain knowledge to engage, right? Otherwise, it's just going to derail everybody. It's like the whole class is going to get boring for everyone, right? Yeah, it's good, right? It's really good. Harsh but fair time. Like, I don't have time for this right now. Their chat history isn't bad. I don't know if they need to be muted. Okay, yeah, we won't do that then. We'll just share this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. We're just talking about Russia. We're talking about if Russia's imperialist or not. Yeah, imperialism is also not when the military does stuff. Exactly, right. Thank you, Dookie. Thank you, Dookie Bud 11. I love your guys' usernames so much. So, Trump said Iran ignored the White House's warnings to not rebuild the nuclear program. Fuck yeah, I would too. He said the U.S.'s objectives in the conflict are clear: take over Iran and steal their oil, and include destroying Iran's missile capabilities, annihilating its navy, ending its nuclear ambitions, and preventing it from arming terrorists. Those are people who don't want Israel to take over their land. Trump told CNN this morning that the U.S. military is knocking the crap out of Iran, but that the big wave is yet to come. In a separate interview with the New York Post, the president didn't rule out sending U.S. troops to Iran if they were necessary. They're not necessary. Die for your government. That's what we're doing. Sending America's poors to die. Qatar's defense ministry said it shot down 2 Iranian Su-24 bombers, marking the first time any country has shot down Iranian aircraft since the latest conflict began. The wife of Iran's slain supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has died, according to local media, after she sustained wounds during U.S. and Israeli strikes on Tehran. Those strikes killed her husband days earlier. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he stands by his decision to not get involved with the initial U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran over the weekend, despite criticism from Trump. Rare British win. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu said his country and the U.S. will be there when the people of Iran cast off the yoke of tyranny together, just like we were there in Libya, I'm guessing. Right, chat? We'll be there, just like we were there in Hungary after we convinced the people there to have an anti-USSR revolution, right? Right. Uh-huh. Nearly 20 people were injured by falling shrapnel in the southern Israeli city of Beersheba this afternoon, Israel's emergency response service said. I will say the thing about this is like, Israel's used to some warfare hitting their territory, but they're not as used to it. They're used to going in and fucking brutalizing Palestine and getting the hell out. So it is interesting seeing how these countries respond to the warfare hitting home. It's like in the USA. It's like when 9/11 happened in the USA, Americans were like, what? And I remember, like, my mom called me. She was at work. She called me. She was like, Madeline, turn on the television. And I turned on the television. I remember looking at it and being like, what the fuck did we expect? We think we just get to do this to the rest of the world and nobody's ever going to bring the fight to our front door? Like, what? And my mom hated this, and she was like, fuck you, Madeline, and she hung up. So, I don't know, whatever. But that's the thing that has never made sense to me, right? It's like, we think that we can just go do this to the rest of the world, and it's never going to come back to haunt us. And I think that is a deeply flawed thing to rely on. That's a deeply flawed position to continue to take. So you had the same reaction at 9/11 as well. Yeah. A boomer interaction. My mom just insulted me for something I didn't do. My mom's Gen X. I think she just doesn't like me that much. I think my mom's one of those people who are like, she like cares about me. Like, she's like, you're fed, you're clothed. That's good when I was like a teenager. But I don't think she's ever really fucked with me. You know what I mean? you know, some of you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so all crossings into Gaza have been closed until further notice amid Israel's ongoing strikes on Iran, according to a statement from the liaison agency. Now, Trump lays out objectives for military strikes. This was an hour ago, so the news is coming in fast. There's a lot happening. So he's offering a four-pronged explanation for this weekend's strikes against Iran, telling reporters and guests during a Medal of Honor ceremony. He laid out the objectives that we already talked about. This is kind of what we're going over. Trump says the United States is substantially ahead on Iran war timing projects. Now, they're talking about all the timing. I want to take a second to do like a little analysis about why this is important. Think about what Trump did in Venezuela, the Trump administration. We were in and we were out, right? That was fast. That was very, very easy for us. That was a clean operation for us. So for the Trump administration, the situation in Iran can go one of two ways. And we talked about this a little bit on the TikTok live stream this morning. It can be a clean operation. It can last, it could have already been over, but it's not, right? So that's probably a little bit discouraging. But it could have been this relatively clean operation. It could still be a clean operation if we wrap this up with a nice little bow on it by the end of the month or something like that. We're in and we're out. It's easy. It's done. Trump gets a boost to his approval ratings. That's his main goal here. And ironically, he was tweeting all of this stuff about previous presidents and how they would go to war with Iran to boost their approval ratings. Because we do know that going to war does boost people's approval ratings. Oh my God, but wait. I just logged onto Twitter and look, it's Julia's cat. So cute. Specifically Obama, though. Yeah, this is what he was talking about. So people are sharing Donald Trump's old tweets about this, which I think are funny, and I will share a couple with you now for reference so you understand why presidents do this fuck-ass shit. Oh my God, I tweet a lot. I'm on here way too much. I gotta get off Twitter. This is way too much. Holy shit. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Ah! Oh, I can't even find it. Ah! Does Donald Trump still have a Twitter? Or did he get banned? Or did he get re-allowed? ACP is using the Iran situation along with Hitler speeches as audio as an example of, see, he wasn't bad, he knew how bad. What? No. Ugh. I do not see. Kooky. Okay, I'm gonna find it. It's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be so worth it, guys. It's gonna be the best thing I've ever found. Donald Trump on Twitter. But Elon Musk had to have let him back. Yeah, he let him back. That's what happened. Okay. Iran. Obama. Okay, so here we go. So this is from 2013. I predict that Obama at some point will attack Iran in order to save face, right? I remember what I previously said. Obama will someday attack Iran in order to show how tough he is. So he's talking about this shit all the time. He also did the same thing with Biden. His Twitter is full of being like, the Democrats are going to attack Iran because their approval ratings are low and everybody hates them. Obama. And it's just continuing. This is like his whole thing. But this is what he's doing now. His approval ratings are in the dumps. What are his approval ratings? His approval ratings are like 2, right? It's like 2 people in the United States approve of him, right? It's like him and like, I don't even know, Melania maybe, right? I don't think, okay. So these are his approval ratings. That's the fork. There we go. Here's are his approval ratings. Oh my god, happy birthday to Julia's cat. So cute. Right, his approval ratings are pretty low. It's not great. People really don't like him. I kind of thought these numbers, this is way more than 2. This is 43% of people. I thought it was like 2 people. But yeah, compared to his first term, he's losing ground fast. Look at that little number's way down there. He ended way up here. His number's way lower. So a lot of people think that this thing is, really just his attempt to try to get people interested in approving of him again. And his base likes it. Republicans, 55% of Republicans approve of him attacking Iran. Only 13% don't. And that's the Charlie woke contingency that we talked about last week as well, when we realized we were Charlie woke. They are the queer bitch. These are concerningly high numbers. And one of the things when we talk about positioning Donald Trump as a unique evil is politically disingenuous for a number of reasons. But also one of the reasons is that he is popular. He is well liked. This is American culture. This is what white supremacy and capitalism breed and create. And it's not just like you get rid of Donald Trump, you got rid of the enemy. This is a systemic issue that's going to take a whole new system to undo. How are people getting this close to class consciousness and falling to anti-Semitic conspiracy theories? The thing I always try to get them to do is but it's not, to remember that Joe Biden was one of the most ardent Zionists on the planet. That man is Christian, right? Zionism is not the same thing as Judaism, obviously. And also to remember, we don't work for Israel. Israel works for us. And they work for us because they are a convenient location in the Middle East for us to use as a military base. That's it. And that's what's kind of interesting. Oh, Glam Shatter Skull, subscribe for 2 months. Yay! Thank you, guys. Yeah, we are Charlie woke. We are Charlie woke. So I think that stuff is really helpful as a reframe for people when you see them falling down that. Remember, Israel works for us, not the other way around. And some of the most ardent Zionists in the United States are Christians. This fucking I cut my bangs and I'm really not into it. I think I messed up. I think it's a real problem for me, guys. Maybe I'm not in a bang era of my life anymore. And I'm just having a hard time coming to terms with that. Okay. So whatever the case, we know this is what's going on. So this situation with Trump could end well. It could end quick. It could be wrapped up in a nice little bow. Republicans could love it. It could be over soon. We could get somebody new in charge in Iran who's more sympathetic to our needs. Or alternatively, this could become Trump's Iraq. This could become an endless forever war that drags on and on and on and on, that kills thousands of American troops, millions of people in Iran. This could be his war on terror in terms of bullshit, right? Yeah, people have a hard time conceiving of the fact that we are the empire. Yes. They think Israel controls us, but it is convenient because it does fall into conspiracy theory brain of the Jews control the world. And it's well, no. The capitalists control the world. The rich guys control the world. And some of them are in Israel, and some of them in the United States, and some of them are Jewish, and some of them are Christian. But Israel is this weird fuck-ass ethno-state that benefits from our protection, and we benefit from their strategic geolocation, right? So, very, 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 very weird. Okay, so let's get back into what's going on. So Trump says the United States is substantially ahead on Iran war timing projections. We don't know if that's true. The fact that he's even saying this makes me think that they are not ahead. And he's who are you trying to convince, right? I think this could be a dragged on forever thing that he was not expecting. He was maybe emboldened by Venezuela, but Iran's not going to go down like that. So President Trump said that the United States is already substantially ahead of our time projections in the war with Iran, but he did not offer a definitive answer on when he expects the military operation to conclude. Whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, Trump said during remarks at the White House. Right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that, and we'll do it. Okay, this is what we're talking about. So I'm like, yeah, he wants it to be like a month-long project. That would be tidy. That would be in and out for him. I don't know if he knows what he's getting into with Iran, though. Is Virgo out? Bye, Virgo. Thank you for everything today. Very, very challenging. So he dismissed the notion that he would get bored after 4 to 5 weeks of conflict in Iran. I love that he's like a toddler. And people are like, you can't have a new cat. You're just going to get bored. You're going to get bored and you're not going to take care of it. And then who's going to take care of it? Me. You can't have a new war in Iran. What's going to happen? You're just going to get bored of it. And then who's going to have to handle the war in Iran? Me. Right? I like the idea that this is what's going on with all of his meetings. They said, the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this, Trump said. What a fucking psychopath. But Trump told CNN's Jake Tapper, I don't want to see it go on too long. I always thought it would be 4 weeks, and we're a little ahead of schedule. This is just a sales pitch. He will get bored. He will get bored, and it will get messy. Yeah, he's going to be like, are you guys still talking about Iran? Who cares? So, talking about the White House ballroom, that's fucking dystopian. Turkey calls for diplomacy as Europe weighs security and energy risks over Iran. Somebody was talking about this in the chat earlier, too, about how this plays into Turkey. Countries across Europe and the Middle East reacted Monday to the escalating conflict stemming from Saturday's U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran, with several urging diplomacy while others weighed security and energy risks. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in a phone call that diplomacy must be given a chance to secure a lasting and sustainable regional peace, according to the Turkish presidency. Erdogan and Ankara were closely monitoring the conflict, and he calls the strikes on Iran a clear violation of international law and said Turkey shares the pain of the Iranian people. Again, Turkey, this is very, very interesting. Okay. NATO chief Mark Rutte said he discussed Iran and the broader regional security, adding that the alliance remains ready to deter and defend against any threat from any direction under its 360-degree security approach. In Kiev, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said Ukraine could share its expertise in intercepting Iranian-made Shahed drones. It claims a success rate of up to 90% and even send drone specialists to the Middle East if partners help broker a ceasefire in Ukraine to guarantee an end to Russian strikes. Everybody's mad. I think Donald Trump really made a mess, is what I think here. Because, when we talk about Ukraine, Zelensky does not know he was a patsy. He does not know he was set up to fail. He does not know that Ukraine was set up by the West to lose to Russia for Western business interests. He doesn't know. So he's like, I'm holding out. We're not going to lose land. We're not going to sign the peace agreement. So now he's like, well, we could help in your little war against Iran if you altered the terms of the peace agreement so that we don't lose any land. And it's like, that's not going to happen, Zelensky. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about you, Zelensky. You're not that important. Nobody gives a fuck about you. So this is kind of awkward and sad. It's like he doesn't know. He doesn't know he's the butt of a joke, right, internationally, which is very, very interesting. I mean, really, Donald Trump's just created a whole fuck-ass mess. So Italy's defense minister and Persian Gulf states have requested air defense and anti-drone systems amid rising attacks, including the Franco-Italian SAMP-T system, though Rome signaled limited availability, giving existent commitments to Ukraine. The EU said it would convene gas and oil coordination groups after energy shipments through the Strait of Hormuz were disrupted, sending benchmark European gas prices sharply higher. And gas prices in Europe are super fucking expensive. If you don't live in Europe, it's really expensive. Zelensky offering to join the war. My brother in Christ, you can't even fight the war you're in. True. It's like, what are you going to do? What? So weird. So weird. Oh my god, Car. Hi, welcome. That's okay. Virgo left. So now we have a mod in the chat again. Nice. Okay, we're going to check out. We're going to take a little detour to talk about this. Portugal. Portugal is once again relinquishing its sovereignty and colluding with U.S. aggression about Iran. Okay. So the United States launched the new attack. No, its name is Operation Epic Fury. Guys, I missed that. Why are we so embarrassing? This is like the most millennial cringe name for an operation. They're like, we're going to call it Operation Epic Fury? I can't deal with this. This is so embarrassing. Is it just a millennial government? Like, is JD Vance a millennial? Is that what's going on? Is he? If this guy's my age, yeah, he's a fucking millennial. Wow. This is like the military equivalent of having a burger place called like Burger Whore or something like that. It's very millennial and cringe too. Just like the pizza index, which measures the likelihood of major U.S. government actions through the demand for pizza near the Pentagon in Washington, the arrival of new aircraft at, is it Lajes Air Base in the Azores, could also potentially serve as an indicator that the United States is planning something. And the suspicious proved correct. Lajes Air Base? Lajes Air Base? Yeah. Military Operation Pwned. Exactly. Oh my god. You think it was Hegseth? Operation Nuke Mocking actually sounds better. That would be the Gen Z war. The Gen Z wars are going to be called Operation Nuke Mocking. Okay, so we have Portugal basically has its own shit's about to go down index that has to do with its airbase. Operation Skibbity Toilet, that's going to be Gen Alpha. It's not like the Spanish. Okay. Sorry, I don't know anything about Portuguese at all. So this was obviously proving correct. Tensions between the countries had been escalating in recent months. Iran, threatened during the ongoing negotiations, had already declared that any use of force would be met with equal force. And I really think that's the thing about Iran that Donald Trump is not getting. Operation Body Bag Maxing. If this war goes longer than 4 or 5 weeks, we are contractually obligated to call it Operation Body Bag Maxing. Yeah, because it's just going to be... Like, if you think about the fucking war in Iraq, if you think about the war on terror, thousands of Americans died, yes. A million people in the Middle East were killed. Millions more were displaced. I mean, these are full-scale, like, destruction events for these other countries. And when you look at this, and you look at Iran, I don't think Iran is going to go out quietly. I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. Unless this gets wrapped up very, very fast. If this does not wrap up in the next 2 weeks, I think that Iran is in it for the long haul. And then the question is how long they'll hold, right? How long will Iran hold? And that's a hard question. I don't really know. But I think they'll go down swinging because I think they're like, at this point, we have nothing to lose. We know what it's like to be dominated by the United States, and they don't want to do it again. It's a matter of pride. And I think that's something that the United States has never really understood about when we're up against other countries. For them, it's a matter of pride. That's what they're fighting for. They're fighting for their pride. So the Trump approach to Venezuela was unique in like scary ways, unique. So we didn't get the battle. The battle didn't happen. There was no battle. They just went in and kidnapped the fucking president, right? But that's not going to happen here. This is a battle. It's already a battle. So we have more traditional war as usual kind of ideas to play off of to take a guess about how this is going to go. So here we go backwards. Trump said Iran ignored U.S. warnings and ought to rebuild a nuclear program. Why does the United States get to decide who builds a nuclear program? That's absolutely fucking insane. What's changed in Venezuela now is a couple things. Number one, the new government is terrified of the United States, so they're playing ball a little bit nicer. Number two, the flow of oil is now being controlled by the United States, which means the oil was shut off from Cuba, which means Cuba's about to fall. Cuba's been an embarrassment for the United States for a long time. We view Latin America, the Caribbean, as our backyard. So to have socialism existing there that we can't squash is very, very embarrassing for us. That's our matter of national pride. So we want Cuba to fall. We want Cuba to fall bad. So Venezuela is a part of that. Venezuela also has helped secure oil during the Iran operation. So my guess is that they knew they were coming for Iran next, and they wanted to secure an oil flow from Venezuela as a backup oil contingency plan when the oil was cut off from Iran, right? So I think that this all plays in together. This is all really one big operation that involves multiple countries, is my guess. And who's going to be next? I don't know. Donald Trump was talking about Colombia. I don't know what happened with that. I'm not really sure how Iran would be the precursor to Colombia. But I do think that if this does not get wrapped up in the next 1 to 2 weeks, we will find ourselves in another prolonged, drawn-out situation with Iran like we did with Iraq. And Iraq was supposed to be fast. That was only supposed to be like if you guys don't remember, that was supposed to be like a 4-month war. They're like, it's a 4-month operation, we're going to be in and we're going to be out. Absolutely fucking not. Dragged on for years and years and years. The United Arab Emirates intercepted 9 ballistic missiles, 6 cruise missiles, and 148 drones today. And that's from Iran, obviously. This brings the ministry's tally of total attacks launched by Iran at the UAE since Saturday to 174 ballistic missiles, 8 cruise missiles, and 689 drones. Drones? I don't know why I can't read. Okay, so obviously Iran is doing a full-on assault. And did you guys see the video of the guy? They were interviewing him and they were like, why is Iran bombing all these other countries? And he was like, because the United States has military bases there and is attacking us from these countries. Like, what? And that's why this is happening. The United States has military bases in these places and is attacking Iran from these other countries. That's why Iran is bombing them. Iran is not just indiscriminately bombing random other countries. They're targeting military bases in other countries that have American servicemen of them. And that's important to know. Neuro right at the Allies state they've intercepted between 96 to 99% of Iranian missiles, but come on, I've seen the Iranian missiles strike the bases many times and many of them. Yeah, people are compiling video footage online, right, of this happening. I think I've seen them on Twitter as well. Let's see. Let's see if we can find it. I'm getting new to the integrating video. Is it helpful? Do you guys like it? Having little video breaks? Is it more interesting? But then I end up on YouTube. Times of India. We're watching Times of India. Okay.
Satellite images now appear to confirm significant damage to U.S. military installations across the Middle East. New imagery from commercial satellite firms Planet and Airbus shows that 2 satellite communications terminals were destroyed at the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet in Manama, Bahrain. The strike marks one of the most serious escalations in the widening confrontation between Iran and the United States. According to an analysis by the New York Times, drawing on satellite imagery, authenticated videos, and official U.S. military statements, Iran struck at least 6 American military sites after Washington and Tel Aviv initiated attacks on Iranian territory. The assessment paints a stark picture of a coordinated and far-reaching response unfolding across multiple fronts. Exactly how many missiles or drones were launched remains unknown. It is also unclear how many were intercepted before reaching their targets. The fog of war lingers. But what cannot be obscured is the damage. Cornerstone of American naval power in the Gulf. Fireballs erupt against the skyline. Shockwaves ripple across the harbor. At the time of the strike, the port, typically crowded with U.S. warships, appeared largely empty, an eerie detail that only deepens the sense of how close the confrontation has come to direct, large-scale losses at sea. Satellite images taken Sunday reveal the aftermath in chilling clarity. Communications infrastructure obliterated, multiple buildings heavily damaged.
They're just showing the same videos over and over again in a loop with the beat, right? Like, they literally just made like a weird dance track with a repeating image, right? Am I crazy? I think it was like over and over again. I'm kind of I'm not gonna lie, I fuck with the video. The video was pretty good. The music was good. You were right, chat. He was talking on beat. I've seen this image. This image I have seen, I swear, 4 or 5 times in the 2 minutes we've been watching this. But, you know, they made a banger video. They made a bigger video, okay? I'm just gonna say, all right? I was into it. So, yeah, they're getting hit. There's video footage of U.S. soldiers on Twitter being like, oh, fuck, like, they're bombing me, right? This stuff is real. This is happening. I saw somebody in the chat being like, I saw Iranians chanting death to America in video footage. Is this real? Yes, this is real. Iranians fucking hate the United States. A lot of them. And younger people less so. Older people more so. That has a lot to do with people who are older remembering what it was like to live under an American-backed dictatorship. Let's see if I can find it. This is AP. But they frame it as supporters of the Khamenei government, which is, I think that's a real immature way to frame this, right? It's not about just, it's not like they just loved Khamenei and that's why they're doing this. I mean, a lot of people like Khamenei. But it's more, they fucking hate the United States because we have a history of violent imperialism against them.
The United States strongly.
So, like the person in the chat said, they've been saying death to America for 50 years. They have been. Yes, that is correct. Yes. So this is nothing new. And if you're just joining in the beginning of the video, we talked about the history of this and where this comes from historically. You can watch the video on demand. I also export everything to YouTube afterwards. So the question is Al Jazeera a reliable source on this? So what I'm going to tell you is there's no such thing as a reliable source. Every single source, you have to think about the bias and what's going into it and what they are reporting. The most reliable source to me is always somebody who's reporting something against their own best interest. So to me, sometimes, for example, a Western source saying something positive, right, or neutral in a way that actually backs something that we're speculating about one of its political enemies can actually be more effective than a source that we already know is in alliance with this idea or with this place or with this side of an event. So I would say that Al Jazeera is not a particularly reliable source. They're a heavily biased source. However, sometimes you can even find information on Al Jazeera where you're like, oh shit, even Al Jazeera is admitting this, so this is probably true. And that's true of every source. So what we do here when we call it like double down on the news, like we take a look at mainstream news sources and we try to fill in the gaps in the bias of their reporting, and we try to see how these different places are reporting this information. For me, one of the things I found it really useful is to hear about how the average American is getting this. We know what we know. We have a history that we put into this. If you're a Marxist, you know about the history of Iran. But a lot of Americans don't. So a lot of Americans are just hearing this. And I think that's what's really interesting in looking at these kind of common everyday news sources. We know their biases. We can point them out. We can talk to them. Your average liberal probably thinks Al Jazeera is a super reliable news source. And it's not necessarily that every article you see on Al Jazeera is bullshit. It's not necessarily that everything you see CNN say is bullshit. What it more is you have to be leveraging what these places are saying against their institutional bias and their collaboration with different governments and different rich guys basically around the globe, right? And that's what we have to look at. Miss Silva, Al Jazeera is basically the only Middle Eastern mainstream news outlet that does good reporting on Gaza, but they do that so they can get credibility to spout imperialist talking points on essentially every other issue. See, and this is, you'll find things like this. So I'm really opposed to the idea of thinking about good sources and bad sources because I think it makes us less critical. You have to use critical thinking skills to be able to assess what information is coming from what source, who is paying them, if it's in their own best interest to report it or not, etc. Right? Happy Monday, Ernesto. And to cross-reference sources with multiple people. So, when we looked at the death tolls, for example, from the protests in Iran, what did we do? We looked at what the Israeli news sources were reporting, 50,000. We looked at what the American news sources were reporting, 30,000. Then we looked at where that 30,000 figure came from. We found that it was an American U.S. government-funded NGO. Okay, so we're like, okay. And then we look at the government of Iran said more like 2,900, and then a totally different unaffiliated group, not affiliated with any of our governments, said like 3,017 or something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers. But we were like, okay, it's probably 3,000. That makes sense. The two people here that have corroborated each other's numbers and don't have a political interest in this is around 3,000. And that made more sense. So, okay. Getting more into the weeds of what is going on, we're seeing, and this is CNN, how they're reporting it. We have now seen 2 reports of civilians in Israel injured by this. We have not seen any reports from CNN so far about the context for that, which is sorry, this is low res. This map, which is Greater Israel, the concept of Greater Israel, which includes seizing land, you know, all in this area. We're not seeing this. We're not seeing that people in the Middle East, Israel's neighbors, view them as a territorial expansionist project, right, that threatens their existence. We're not seeing any of this. We're not seeing Israel painted as an aggressor in this situation at all. All we're seeing is, oh my God, civilians in Israel are injured by big bad Iran, right? Which I think is interesting. Yeah, we're not seeing, I mean, I'm sure we will in the timeline, but the story about the 100 little girls who were killed. And now they're trying to say, oh, that was actually, Iran did that accidentally. And it's like, we don't really have, the best I've seen, there's no evidence of that. And it is actually on par with what we know Israel does in warfare situations. OG Bunnies, have we seen the new Communist Party of Britain's homepage? Their web design sucks. Average communist web No, should we do a palette cleanser? Maybe we'll do a little palette cleanser. Wait, I can't find it. I can't find the website. Is it newworker.org? Shut up. Is it this? Oh, I love being a communist. We needed this palette cleanser. I love communism. I think this is why people hate on the PSL so much. They are the only Marxist-Leninist party that has graphic designers. And everyone's like, what the fuck is this shit? Get out of here, you fake-ass communists with your graphic designers. It's like a dial-up website for anybody over the age of 35. Oh, it's so good. I love it. I love it. I feel like I love it because you almost have to go out of your way to design a website this bad in 2026. Like y'all didn't have a template available or something. These guys too. Oh, it's so good. This is sick. It's great because you go on and it's like, oh my God, I stumbled upon an archive. Nope, that's February 28th, 2026. Okay. All right. Oh, I love it. It's so good. It is reflective of the working class struggle. Meanwhile, I'm going to pull up some American communist parties here for us to take a look at. Let's do a comparative analysis of the web design for our Marxist-Leninist American parties. Okay, FRSO, you got a little responsive theme here. It's not bad. It's not so bad. FRSO's got a pretty okay website. It's at least in the right decade. You know, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Designers of the world, unite. Oh. London Best Gay. Are you back fast, Supernova? Okay, yeah, you're back. Yay. Okay, CPUSA. Their website looks good. They got some nice pictures. They got, look at this little overlay. CPUSA's website's looking good. They got their Twitter showing up down here. Like, they have social media links. All right, okay. I'm so sorry. Now we're assessing PSL. Okay, BSL's got a graphic popping up. This is looking good. We've got a YouTube video. You know, the Twitter link's not working, but that's okay. All the designers are busy doing several trot newspapers. Yes. Suspiciously beautiful website. What are they up to over there? You know, I do think the CPU's website is looking pretty good. Okay. Inshallah, graphic designers will lead us to global communist revolution through deen of aesthetics over dunya. I just dyed my hair on Saturday. I just put a dye over it, though. I didn't do my roots, so it'll probably fade fast. Graphic design is liberal propaganda. ACP. Oh my god, I have to go on the ACP website. Oh! Nope. Rejected. Why do they have a splash page like it's 2008? Like, they literally have a splash page? Okay, now this is pretty bad, actually. Yeah, we can look at Kenya. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, yeah, this is horrible. They're doing it on purpose as a psyop to trick us into thinking that they're real. Aren't they? Oh, they actually stand against the imperialist war on Iran? Oh, I guess they would. That makes sense to me. They would do that. Okay, wait. Communist Party is... Go to the chapters page. Hold on. Hold on. Oh! Wait, hold on. We're bouncing around just a sec. This is the best looking UK Communist Party website. Are they trots? Graphic design equals respectability. Politics equals liberal propaganda. Proper web design is actually bourgeois decadence that must be opposed. I mean, it's so true. It's so true. Okay, wait. Are we going to go to the chapters? I feel like I know so much about this domain. Oh! What is happening here? Do they have an LA chapter? No. They have a California chapter. Just all of California. Okay. Oh, the AI graphic. Ugh, these people, they love their AI graphics. I just want them to know it just looks bad. Like, it doesn't look cool. Right? At Barney's Beanery in West Hollywood? Also, like, I live in LA. This is the heart of the class struggle, really, in West Hollywood? Why? Yeah, why does it look wet? It looks horrible. I don't understand this. Okay, Avril LaCringe, we got a trot paper. We got a... Oh, this one actually looks good. This looks nice. Okay, the trots are good at the papers. The trots are better at this. Yeah, very, very weird. Heart of the class struggle, Silver Lake. I gotta tell you, I was in a Glendale Marxist-Leninist area thing, and they were like, we have to disband this because Glendale's not really a hotbed of class struggle. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Is Toby here? Toby's here. Toby's the only trot allowed in the chat, for those of you who are new. Okay. The heart of the class struggle is his son's house in Weeham. You know, I don't know anything about that. You're in Glendale? What's up, Tofu Core? We're neighbors. Atwater Village says hey. Were you at the Hilton ice thing? I lived at that Hilton. Cults are usually good at making things appealing. Yes, Car's right. I will say about Hassan, this is the thing I always say, is that I'm not super familiar with Hassan's content, so I don't know like his politics or anything, but I will say one time the internet tried to get us into a fight against each other, and Hassan is the only other content creator who's handled a situation like that, like an adult, and we DM'd each other, and we were like, this is silly, and we're not doing this, right? And we were both like, yeah, we're not doing this. This is, no. And I do have respect for Hassan because of that. Because he's the only person who ever didn't use it as like weird engagement bait or to like create, I don't know, whatever. He was like a normal person about it. He was like, this is fucking weird. And I was like, yeah, this is fucking weird. I don't want to do this either. So that's my personal interaction with Hassan Piker has been positive. And that's what I will say about that. So, but I know I'm not familiar with his politics. I know my politics are more aggressively far left than his. I do know that. So what are you going to do? I know a lot of people, my politics are further left than theirs. Yeah. Okay. See? Yeah. So, he's pro-DPR. Okay, that's good. It's good. He's polite about China to be at. All right. See? So, positive. Transition from liberal to us, Chinese mustard. That makes sense. And I do feel like on TikTok, I try to occupy a space doing that. I try to be like a liberal whisperer. Be like, you love it. Come here, syphilis. And then they all freaked out. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm losing you guys, I'm going to get the people who are further along in the radicalization journey anyway. So I couldn't occupy that space anymore, but that's okay. Yeah, I try to be the lib whisperer, but they caught me. They're like, you're not one of us. And I was like, no. Surprise. Whoops. It did not work. So I got you. Yay. I worked on a few people. I tried. They knew though. They were like, once the election came about and they're like, and you're voting for Kamala. And I was like, no. And that's when it was like, oh my God. Are there other people who have your same politics on TikTok? I feel like if you're consistently ML, like people on TikTok seem to be Maoist. I've kind of noticed that too. I'm in a group chat on TikTok with the Marxist-Leninist TikTokers. And yes, they are there. They don't have as big a following as me, but they are there. I will repost them a lot. Reina is an awesome resource to follow. Ome is an awesome resource to follow. Reina Hendricks, you'll see her videos on my repost a lot. Ome's are Sugar Skull Angelic. Great. Their videos are awesome. I repost them a lot. Reina's partner, Just Malik, is on there too. I mean, there's so many people. DeAndre, Liz, OAS Liz. I mean, there's a lot of people that are definitely really good. And I do repost them often. So I would go check out my reposts and follow people. I made you realize you weren't as far left as you thought, so you started woke maxing. I love it. Django. Django's a Marxist-Leninist. Yes. Khalil is a great person to follow. Khalil is great to follow. Yeah, Khalil's the real deal. I'm looking at the CIA document. Thank you. Vex Loser. Yes, I love Lex. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Love. Django's not a Trotskyist. CPUSA, I talked to Django about CPUSA actually. I was like, is it explicitly Marxist-Leninist? And Django was like, yeah, they're like more Marxist-Leninist now. And Django will say that I think that she is Marxist-Leninist. I'm pretty sure. I'm 80% sure on that. There's always margin for error when I talk about other people. I'm 80% sure I've had this exchange with Django. Yeah, revolutionary thought. Yes. I'm the reason you transitioned from socialist to full-on communist to totalitarian communist. Yay! I'm so happy. Yeah, I love Pokepreet too. Preet gets a little Maoist sometimes. Yeah, I've been there, so Django is MLA. Yes. So there are Marxist-Leninists on there for real, and they do good work. Yeah. So Lady Izdihar, great. I love her. She's great. She's also fashiony. We're the two fashion commies. We like clothes and communism. Yes. Okay. So, but if you go on my TikTok, you'll see people I repost. There's a lot of people in there that you can definitely repost that I think are great to follow. My two personal faves are Reina Hendricks and Sugar Skull Angelic. So those are my two personal faves to follow. Yeah, and I do love Lady Istihar as well, actually. Yes. Oh, okay. So we got a few minutes left to see what's up with Iran. So just to kind of summarize that, sorry we got a little off track here with our graphic design look and our little chit chat. But yeah, I think the main thing here is that, look, Trump is saying that he wants to wrap this thing up in 4 to 5 weeks. Everyone's like, you're going to get bored. He's like, we'll send troops in. The second troops hit the ground like that in Iran, I think we're looking at another Iraq. That's my guess. That's a guess. You guys know I don't love to do guesswork because it's not fun being wrong if you're wrong. But my guess would be that we would be looking at another horrific situation that's going to take forever to undo. So, you know, Trump said, I don't think the polling is low. Look, whether polling is low or not, I think the polling is probably fine, but it's not a question of polling. You cannot let Iran, who's a nation that has been run by crazy people, have a nuclear weapon, unlike the United States, a nation famously run by not crazy people with 5,000 nuclear weapons. Yeah, bro literally said, you might die, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. Yeah. Yeah. War with Iran, good news for Russia and bad news for Ukraine. I really think we have to hit this one. This is very relevant to the content we discuss here a lot. A surge in oil prices driven by worries about supply disruptions connected to the widening conflict in the Middle East stands to benefit Russia, according to an energy analyst. The capability of Russia to continue the war in Ukraine is very much linked to oil rents revenues, and with these events, the Russian state is getting additional oil rents. This according to Simone Tagliapietra, senior fellow at think tank Bruegel. This is good news for Russia and bad news for Ukraine. The price of Brent crude, the global benchmark, briefly surged above $82 a barrel on early Monday morning before giving up some of those gains. By the afternoon, it was trading 6% higher on the day, around $77 a barrel. Although Russia's revenues from oil exports have plunged in recent years, income from crude production remains a considerable contributor to the Kremlin's budget and its war efforts. Any increase in the price of oil contributes to the budget and helps finance Russia's war machine in Ukraine. I mean, again, this is the way this is worded. And nobody talks about Russia tried to negotiate for years to avoid war, and nobody would talk to them. Nobody mentions that when talking about the situation. Yes, all the streams get auto-exported to YouTube. Yes. So that's interesting. And all Americans can think about is how this affects the price of gas. Absolutely wild. I think the final thing we should talk about is the bombing of the school. I think this is the biggest news to come out of the situation, and we would really be remiss to not discuss it. We got the BBC. We got the state media of the Brits. Brits in the chat. We're using your state media, not ours, for a change. All of our media is state media. I don't know about you guys. But yeah, at least 153 people, including children, have died after a reported strike hit a school in southern Iran, according to Iranian officials. Iran has blamed the U.S. and Israel. The U.S. Military Central Command, CENTCOM, said it was looking to reports of the incident, while Israel's military said it was not aware of any IDF operations in the area, a likely story. The girls' school was located in Manab, near an IRGC base, which had previously been a target. At least 201 people have been killed in airstrikes in Iran, and 747 hurt since Saturday, the Iranian Red Crescent said. Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian. Okay, so again, remember, they have a president, they have a parliament, right? It's not just the Ayatollah. So this is another thing. When people are like, they don't have democracy, they have elections, they have a president, they have an Ayatollah as well, but then, you know, they also have a parliament. So this is too how these stories are misrepresented in the West. If you were just an average Westerner, you'd be like, wait, the president? What are you talking about, right? They have a constitution that they follow, etc. All these things. Iran's president called the incident a barbaric act, another black page in the record of countless crimes committed by the aggressors. And they are correct. And it is so sad that the United States paints them like they're insane. Like, we do Darvo techniques on these fucking people. It's like, why is Iran so obsessed with us? Oh my God, they're crazy. And it's like, I don't know. Probably because we've been trying to systematically wipe them off the fucking face of the earth since 1953 when they tried to take control of their own oil. Like, what? Why are we presenting them like they're these psychopaths, you know? The protection of civilians is of utmost importance, according to the CENTCOM spokesman Tim Hawkins. So following the incident on Saturday, Red Cross and Red Crescent officials in Geneva said the society had mobilized response teams to go to the school. An official said that the school in the town of Manab had been targeted by 3 missile attacks. The BBC has verified clips of the aftermath of the explosion, which shows smoke rising from a building as crowds gather nearby and people can be heard screaming in panic. But it has not been able to independently verify the death toll. International news organizations are often refused visas to Iran, which severely limits their ability to gather information there. I mean, I would also do this. If I had a country being aggressively targeted by the West, I would do what Burkina Faso did, and I would kick out all foreign news agencies because they are paid agents of the state. This is literally, BBC is literally state media, right? In 1953, Mossadegh was overthrown by the CIA and who? MI6, right? it's all British. The British are their enemies as well. So I also would not let the fucking BBC into my borders on some fuck ass reporting propaganda bullshit if they had overthrown my government and were trying to steal my country, right? Did the BBC defend Epstein? I didn't see that. Sylvie Surfer, it's my alarm, we'll be almost done. Do you think there's value in co-opting and revolutionizing the military and police in the U.S. because of their sheer firepower? If we consider the material conditions of the U.S., a revolution would have the least friction if the working class turned the armed faction of the state against the capitalist forces. So this is what Lenin actually did in Russia that I think was effective. And this is something I talk about a lot as being a contradiction. I actually talked about this morning. I do think we need to radicalize the masses, including people who have worked in the military or the police, but there's no way to radicalize these people without condemning their every action. And some people will be radicalized themselves from their own activity in these forces, and I'm not going to pretend like people who join the military aren't complicit in the slaughter of innocent people, innocent children around the globe. I'm not going to pretend like there's any such thing as a good police officer. So then the question becomes, how do you radicalize these people? And it can be a challenge. For the military, we know that there is a contingency of people who go off to war and come back and are already radicalized. And they're like, I never want to fucking do that again. I never want to be a part of that again. I fucking hated that. And they become actually very, very anti-war. And they become activists. And we love that for them. While we also do not say what they did was okay, right? We continue to condemn it and they're okay with that. So it is police, I don't know, maybe even more challenging. I'm not sure. But that is a challenge. That is a challenge I think about a lot. And I don't know that I have a good solution for it. Right? I know Lenin had a good solution for their conditions in Russia. Also, though, World War I, right? So World War I, you have all these people who are armed against their will fighting literally a rich guy war. That also made their conditions unique. So we have unique conditions with the military and the police force here in the United States that need to be considered uniquely. And that is something I think about a lot. In 1953's coup in Iran, there's evidence the BBC used a code word on the radio to let the Shah know that the British supported his plans. That's really interesting, too. Yeah, so back over here, an Iranian living abroad who opposes military intervention in Iran commented the first victims of this war are 40 girls in Manab hit by missile attack. Is this the war you cheer for? One user wrote, even if the regime did not directly target schools, the deaths of children in Manab remains the responsibility of the Islamic Republic. I don't know about that. People have no shelters. The internet is cut. Phone lines are down, and there's been no warning to keep children out of school. In these conditions, the minimum requirement should be to stay home. So very interesting. Like, why? I don't even know why. What the utility is in presenting that. It's Iran's fault that a school of theirs was bombed and 153 children died, or people, including children, died. 170 schoolgirls died as of earlier today. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, I see at least 165. That's from a few hours ago. This is from the Independent. At least 555 people have been killed total in Iran since the beginning of the strikes over the weekend. UNESCO said it was a grave violation of human law. I mean, it's also wild to me that we try to enforce these human rights laws during war. Like, war is fucked up and bad. You know, there's no, like, nice way to do war. Like, it's all war crimes. It's all fucked. It's all bad. Israel and the United States. We will never forgive the people of Iran for making us kill them. Marxist gamers go, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're just saying shit to see what sticks. Yeah, they are. And this is children. These are fucking children. And I just, want to bring it back. I gotta jump off the stream soon, but I just want to bring it back to the rhetoric that's used in the United States domestically as well. It's like, think about how much domestic policy is influenced by the supposed fear for children, looking out for the safety of children, right? A lot of homophobic laws, sure, a lot of transphobic laws, the rhetoric that's used is all, oh, we want to keep kids safe. We want to keep kids safe. We don't care about fucking keeping kids safe. We don't care about kids being safe at all. We're literally blowing them up in other countries every opportunity we get. Okay. So Clark says, this is extremely short, like maybe 5 minutes of reading that. Mentions the radio thing you mentioned. Okay, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at both. This could be a nice way to sum up. sum up our stream today. So the activities of the week old. When is this from? What date is this from? Is this from today? Or is this old? When is this from? Oh, 2009. Okay. BBC says the news it broadcasts on the channel is gathered from abroad using sources within Iran. The Minister of Culture and Islamic Guidance, Mohammed Hossein Safar Harandi, also banned Iranian journalists and artists from working for the channel. A BBC spokesman in London, England, said the corporation is breaking no laws in Iran. BBC Persian TV launched January 14th, broadcasting in Farsi to Iran, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan, the BBC spokesperson said. It joins the 69-year-old BBC Persian radio service, and the website bbcpersian.com launched in 2001. Again, this is from 2009. The TV channel offers mixed programming. Harandi did not say the BBC's channel was breaking any laws. Considering the BBC's history of creating chaos in Iran and its efforts to set the various strata of Iranian society against each other, the presence of the BBC Persian TV in the Islamic Republic is deemed illegal. Okay, this makes sense. I would agree with this. The Iranian minister's comments called to mind modern broadcasting folklore about the BBC's role in the Iranian Revolution. A BBC Radio 4 documentary in 2005 said it had evidence that a radio newsreader inserted the word exactly into a midnight time check one summer in 1953, a code word to the Shah of Iran that Britain supported his plans for a coup. The Shah had selected the word, the documentary said, and the BBC broadcast the word at the request of the government. Officially, the BBC has never acknowledged the code word plot, but they also did not speak about a potential connection. Okay, interesting. And then this one is from 2005. Documents reveal the true extent of Britain's involvement in the coup of 1953, which toppled Iran's democratically elected government. Iran had just nationalized the very oil fields that had powered Britain through 2 world wars. Downing Street wanted them back. London paid Iranian agents to sow seeds of dissent in Tehran. Then, to win American support for a coup, the men from the ministry fanned fears of a Russian invasion. Very, very, very good. Thank you for sharing these, Car. Weird to see me outside of TikTok? I exist. Wait until you see me out in the real world, too. I'm very small, like the size of a child. That usually freaks people out. They don't expect it. All right. So I got to jump off of stream. I got to start my real job soon. Thank you guys for hanging out today. As always, I will export these to YouTube, and then the VODs will be up on my channel. Is there anybody we want to raid? I know we did Larry all last week because Larry was getting back into streaming. Is there anybody else who's on that anybody's interested in raiding? Anyone? Jamal? Doing Iran coverage? Okay. Iran. You can really hear the American in me come out. I say it like George W. Bush. Iran. Trump 2028. Good luck with that. I think the guy's going to be dead by then. He's barely hanging on right now. I love your optimism, though. And I think the left could really use some of that revolutionary optimism from you. Iran. Trump 2028. Iran. All right. I'm doing DJ Muel. Well. Get ready. Get ready, Americans. Trump 2032. Trump everywhere. Trump under the ocean. Trump in a submarine. Trump on my roof. Clip it. Okay, we're raiding. Bye, everybody.